You wake up 1, 2, 3 times every night to go to the bathroom, even though you have barely had anything to drink, and the next day you get up exhausted with a heavy head, as if those hours in bed had been of no use at all. I want you to know something that probably no one has told you clearly. The problem is almost never where you think it is. It is not the bladder, it is not age, it is not that you drink too much. The problem lies in something that the body needs at night to function properly, something that it is lacking in silence without giving any signs during the day. And the most frustrating thing is that you have already tried everything, right? You stopped drinking water after 6, you went to bed earlier, perhaps you took something to sleep and still you woke up the same way. It is not that you have not tried, it is that you were attacking the symptom, not the real cause. Today, I am going to explain exactly which nutrient the body is lacking, why almost no doctor checks it in routine examinations, how to use it correctly, and what the most common mistake is that makes it not work, even if you are taking it. Stay until the end, because the part about the mistake is the most important of the entire video. I am Dr. David Yatin. Every week, I share practical health information for older adults, without exaggerations and without empty promises. Let us begin. What is happening to you has a medical name. It is called Nocturia. Nictu means night. Uria means urine. It is waking up during the night with the need to go to the bathroom. And although it is very common in people over 60 years old, there is something important that I want you to understand. Just because it is common does not mean it is normal. Just because it happens to many people does not mean you have to resign yourself to living this way. Most people believe the problem is in the bladder. The logic seems obvious. If the bladder could hold more, they would sleep better. So they stop drinking water, reduce fluids from midday, try to hold it longer before going to bed, and yet they still get up 2, 3, 4 times. Why? Because they were looking in the wrong place. I am going to explain the real mechanism with an image you will never forget. Imagine that you have an alarm in your house. That alarm is so poorly calibrated that it goes off at anything. The wind, a distant noise, a fly passing near the sensor. Every time it goes off, you think there is something. You get up, you check, and there is nothing. The alarm is not detecting real dangers. It is just too sensitive. That is exactly what happens to the body of people who wake up at night. The nervous system is so sensitive, so alert, that it reacts in an exaggerated way to any signal, including a bladder that barely has a little urine and could perfectly wait until the morning. And there is a factor that makes everything worse. When sleep is light and shallow, when you never reach that truly deep sleep, anything wakes you up. A small noise, a thought, a mild sensation, or that minimal pressure in the bladder. Not because the bladder is full, but because the brain never fully disconnected, never lowered its guard enough to ignore signals that are not urgent. When sleep truly is deep, the brain does something extraordinary. It shuts off signals that are not urgent. The bladder may have some urine. The brain knows it, but it decides not to wake you because it is not necessary yet. That is what should happen. That is what used to happen when you were 40 years old. What we are looking for is not to force the body to hold more. What we are looking for is to restore to the brain that ability to decide. To understand the solution, you need to understand what happens inside the body when you lie down. When you go to sleep, the body should begin what doctors call the process of nocturnal inhibition. It is something like turning off a car engine. Little by little, the temperature drops, the heart rate decreases, the blood pressure goes down, the nervous system stops sending alert signals, and the body can enter that deep sleep that truly restores it. But in many older adults, that process of winding down does not occur properly. The engine never fully turns off. The nervous system remains active, stays in surveillance mode, even though the body is lying down and the eyes are closed. And in that state of constant alertness, everything feels urgent. A half-full bladder feels full. A distant noise feels close. A small thought turns into a worry. The body does not rest, it stays on guard. Why does this happen? There are several reasons that combine. The accumulated stress of the day, screens late into the night, sugar, afternoon coffee, constant worry. But there is another reason, a silent one, that does not hurt, that is not noticeable during the day, and that at night changes absolutely everything. A reason that has to do with something the body is lacking, something so small that it fits in a spoonful. I am talking about vitamin B1, also known as thiamine. Pause for a moment before you jump to conclusions. Listen to me carefully. I am not telling you that vitamin B1 is a magic pill that will make you sleep 8 hours straight on the first night. That does not exist, and I am not going to promise it. What I am telling you is something much more interesting and real than that. Vitamin B1 has an essential function in the body. It is the cofactor that the nervous system needs to produce cellular energy efficiently. But more important for what I am telling you is this. Thiamine is directly involved in the synthesis of GABA, which is the brain's main inhibitory neurotransmitter. GABA is literally the brake of the nervous system. It is what allows the brain to slow down at night. It is what makes it possible for deep sleep to be maintained. When vitamin B1 is at adequate levels, GABA is produced properly and the nervous system can inhibit itself. When it is low, that brake does not work well. Signals fire without control. The nervous system cannot wind down, and at night that becomes a disaster. Think of it with another image. Imagine an orchestra. When all the musicians play at the right moment, with the proper volume, the result is harmonious music. But if some instruments start playing when they should not, too loudly, at the wrong time, the result is noise. That is what happens to the nervous system when it lacks vitamin B1. The instruments sound when they should not. Nerve signals are activated at night when they should be silent, and one of those signals that fires unnecessarily is the one from the bladder. And why does it decrease in so many older people without anyone knowing? For 4 reasons that almost always combine. First, with age, the small intestine reduces its ability to absorb water-soluble vitamins, and vitamin B1 is one of the most affected. Second, the regular consumption of sugar, coffee, and alcohol depletes thiamine reserves at a much higher rate than normal because the body uses it to metabolize those compounds. Third, certain medications that are very common in older adults, especially some loop diuretics such as furosemide, directly increase the urinary excretion of thiamine. And fourth, almost no doctor requests a vitamin B1 test in routine checkups. The deficiency can go completely unnoticed for years while the body functions worse and worse at night. I want you to clearly understand how this works, because if you do, you will know exactly what to expect, and you will not become frustrated when nothing spectacular happens in the first few days. Vitamin B1 does not act like a sleeping pill. It does not make you sleepy. It does not sedate you. It does not shut down the body artificially. Its function is different and much deeper. What vitamin B1 does is restore to the nervous system its ability to inhibit itself, to reduce noise, to silence signals that are not urgent. When that ability is restored, the body can finally enter the deep sleep it needs, not because someone forced it, but because the nervous system found the biological calm it had lost. And when sleep becomes deeper, something completely natural happens. The brain stops reacting to minor signals. The bladder may have some urine, and the brain says, "It is not urgent, I will not wake up." That is how it should always work. And this is what people who have corrected that deficiency describe over time. It is not that they suddenly sleep 8 hours on the first night. The change is gradual and real. One night they noticed that when they got up to go to the bathroom, they fell back asleep in 10 minutes instead of staying awake for an hour. Another night they wake up 2 times instead of 4, and after a few weeks the first full nights begin to appear. They look at the clock and it says 5 in the morning, and instead of going to the bathroom, they turn over and go back to sleep. That is the body recovering what it had lost. Now comes the most important part of this video, because many people hear about vitamin B1, go to the pharmacy, buy any presentation, take it at any time, and after 2 days say it did not help them at all. It is not that it does not work, it is that they used it incorrectly. Listen carefully to these 4 keys. Key 1, timing. Prepare the ground, do not stimulate. Vitamin B1 is not taken right before going to bed. It is taken in the afternoon or early evening, between 2 and 3 hours before sleep. Why? Because the goal is not to shut down the body at that moment. The goal is that when bedtime arrives, the nervous system has already been in the process of winding down for a couple of hours. If you take it too late, the body may process it just when you are trying to fall asleep, and that can create the opposite effect of what you are looking for. Key 2, dosage, the right amount, not excess. The most common mistake with any supplement is thinking that more is better. With vitamin B1, it does not work that way. The body does not need a huge dose. It needs the right amount so that the nervous system can regulate itself again. The doses that have been studied for this purpose are moderate, generally between 50 and 100 milligrams per day in their standard form. If you prefer the benfotiamine form, which has better bioavailability and crosses the blood-brain barrier more easily, the doses are lower. Always speak with your doctor before starting, especially if you take other medications. Key 3, consistency, the factor most people ignore. This is the point where most people fail. They take vitamin B1 for 2 or 3 nights, do not notice a dramatic change, and abandon it. But the body does not work like a switch. If you have been sleeping poorly for months, your nervous system has learned that pattern. It has become accustomed to staying alert at night, and changing a learned pattern takes time, not days, between 4 and 12 weeks of consistent use to see solid and sustainable results. Think of it this way: if a tree has been growing crooked for years, you cannot straighten it overnight. You place a support, you wait, and little by little the tree begins to grow straight. The body does the same. When you give it the right signal, night after night, first it mistrusts, then it tolerates, then it adopts, and when it adopts, the change becomes stable. Key 4. Regularity. The same schedule every day. The body responds better to what is predictable than to chaos. If one day you take vitamin B1 at 6 in the evening, another day at 10 at night, and another day you do not take it at all, the nervous system does not receive a clear signal. It receives noise, and noise maintains the state of alertness. The same time, the same dose, every day. That regularity tells the nervous system something very simple. Everything is under control. And when the nervous system believes everything is under control, it can finally lower its guard. Vitamin B1 works much better when the environment also supports sleep. There are 4 simple adjustments. None requires money or excessive effort. The first is to create a transition before sleep. If the nervous system spent the day in tension, it reaches the night without knowing how to shut down. Even if the body is physically tired, the mind remains active. Turn off screens 30 minutes before going to bed. This is not just general wellness advice. The blue light from screens actively blocks the production of melatonin and keeps the nervous system on alert. Sit in silence. Breathe slowly. Those transition minutes tell the body, it is already night. It is time to wind down. The second is magnesium. It is the great silent ally of vitamin B1 for sleep. Magnesium acts as a co-regulator of the nervous system and enhances the activity of GABA, the same inhibitory neurotransmitter that vitamin B1 helps produce. Many older adults have a magnesium deficiency without knowing it. Foods rich in magnesium include nuts, avocado, spinach, sunflower seeds, and banana. If you consider a magnesium supplement, glycinate or malate, speak with your doctor first. The third is room temperature. The body needs to lower its internal temperature to enter deep sleep. It is pure biology. A cool room between 18 and 20 degrees facilitates this process. If the room is too warm, the body works to cool itself, and that effort fragments sleep without you noticing. The fourth is daytime hydration. Many people drink little water during the morning and midday and then feel thirsty at night. If you hydrate well during the day and reduce fluids starting at 6 in the evening, the bladder will have much less work to do while you sleep. It is not about depriving yourself of water, it is about distributing it better. I want to be completely honest with you about the timing, because wrong expectations are the #1 cause of giving up before seeing results. In the first 2 weeks, you may not notice a big change. The body is still processing the new signal. It still mistrusts. But you may notice something subtle, that when you get up to go to the bathroom, you fall back asleep faster than before, that the sleep feels a bit deeper at some point during the night. Those are the first signs that something is beginning to change inside. Between the 3rd and the 4th week, many people begin to notice the difference clearly. They go from 4 awakenings to 2, or they wake up once but fall back asleep within minutes. Something that simply did not happen before. The body is beginning to learn the new pattern. From 1.5 months to 2 months of consistent use is when the most solid changes appear. Full nights begin to become more frequent. Sleep feels restorative, and what many people describe is that the next day feels different. The mind clearer, energy more stable, mood better. Not because you took something that gave you energy, but because the body finally truly rested. And when that happens, the day improves, stress decreases, and the following night is even better. The virtuous cycle begins to turn in your favor. Everything I explained today applies to people who wake up at night without pain, without burning, without alarming symptoms, and whose main problem is light sleep and frequent awakenings. That is the case for the vast majority of people with Nocturia. And if you see yourself in that situation, this approach makes a lot of sense for you. But if you also have burning when urinating, if there is blood in the urine, if you have a fever, if there is pain in the lower abdomen or in the back, if you have lost weight unintentionally, or if the symptoms worsen week after week without explanation, those are signs that there is something more behind it. In that case, going to the doctor is not optional, it is urgent. These symptoms may indicate a urinary tract infection, prostate enlargement, kidney problems, or other conditions that require evaluation and specific medical treatment. Do not ignore them, hoping they will go away on their own. What I explained today is a supportive tool for functional cases, not a substitute for medicine when the body is sending real warning signals. I want you to keep something in mind before closing this video. If today you wake up 3 or 4 times every night, if you have spent months or years with broken sleep, if at some point you thought it was age and that you had to resign yourself, I want you to know with certainty that this is not your destiny. It never was. It is not age, it is not irreversible damage, it is a system out of balance, and systems can be adjusted. The human body has a capacity for learning and recovery that we often underestimate, especially after 60. When you give it the right signals, consistently and with patience, the body responds. It always responds. Not all at once, not overnight, but it responds. Do not look for the perfect night in one leap. Look for a night that is a little better than yesterday, and then another that is a little better. When that process repeats, one day you look back and realize that you have been sleeping well for weeks, that you have gone a month without waking up 4 times, that finally your body and you are on the same side, working together instead of fighting in the dark. Sleeping well is not a luxury, it is a biological necessity as basic as eating or breathing. And when the body truly rests, everything else improves. The heart, memory, the immune system, mood, energy, the desire to live, everything. You have been tired for too long. You deserve to have that. If this video helped you understand what is happening to you from an angle that probably no one had explained to you this way, go ahead and like it right now. That small gesture tells the YouTube algorithm that this content is valuable and helps it reach more older adults who have been struggling to sleep well for years and who need this information today. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Every day I share practical natural health information for older adults, without exaggerations, without products to sell, and without empty promises. Only information that you can apply from home with what you already have, without complicating your life. There are people who have spent years looking for answers in medical offices and do not find them because no one has time to explain the root of the problem. That is exactly what we do here. If you know someone who has not been sleeping well for a long time, share this video with them. Sometimes the smallest gesture can change the night of someone who had already lost hope. And tell me in the comments, do you always wake up at the same time every night, or does it change? That question has an answer that says more about your nervous system than you might imagine. It is not a coincidence that it is always at 2 in the morning or always at 4. Each pattern has a specific biological explanation. In a future video, I will explain exactly what each one means and what you can do with that information to keep improving. Write it below. I read all the comments and reply when I can. Sleep well because everything else comes after. See you in the next one.